Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled Chemtrails, Project Cloverleaf. Now, as I have detailed in article 218 entitled Chemtrails, Sun Simulators and Stellar Cores, chemtrails are being used in conjunction with other methods to deceive the world's population. One of the most insidious of these deceptions is that it is for the good of the planet in some way. But this is clearly impossible in the light of the fact that global warming is a hoax and the sun is actually becoming weaker, and also the fact that sun simulators emitting high levels of harmful ultraviolet radiation or UVC radiation are being used in the Earth's atmosphere. One of the first clearly written descriptions of what was going on was by a resident of the San Juan Islands in Washington State. And here we see one of the chemtrail tanker planes spreading its toxic mix of chemicals. This seems to be the airplane they started out using. They seem to be using something else nowadays. It seems to be more advanced, seems to have advanced capabilities such as cloaking and holographic projection. So this person called himself Lightman, and he wrote an article in 2003 entitled Playing God with the Atmosphere, the SHIELD Project or Operation Cloverleaf, in which he details his experience and observation of the chemtrail operations since 1998. He first noticed the dramatic change in the cloud cover over the island in 1998, and in 1999 he saw the type of aircraft that was then being used to spray the chemicals in the atmosphere. And regarding that experience, he writes, I got out and looked up to see a mysterious white tanker plane, a C-130, banking steeply, pulling a tight donut in the air. A thick white streamers exuded from the wings. The plane, like those used to refuel others in mid-flight, had just flown over our island at low altitude. As it came by for the second pass, I saw that the white plumes were not coming from the craft's engines, but from rows of nozzles on each wing. The pilot was spraying unknown substances into the air above our pristine island home. Why this was being done then and now is an official mystery. For the rest of the day I monitored the strange clouds the tanker plane had produced, observing the changes in their aerial formations. Unlike ordinary jet contrails, which dissipated within minutes, these chemtrails continued to grow for hours. By the end of the day, what had been a clear blue sky in the morning was transformed into a nearly opaque blanket of man-made cloud cover. There were no natural clouds present, only man-made ones. He also went on to report that the spraying had become an almost daily occurrence and was done in 4 to 7 day cycles. On the first day after a rainstorm, the plane started early in the morning and repeatedly flew north and south until a sufficient bank of chemtrail spray was created. The planes would then start flying east and west and thus ended up laying out a grid. On the second day, they would repeat the process, but at higher altitude. The cycle would repeat each day until a weather front came along, bringing a large amount of rain. You also noticed that during the spraying, people would experience bronchial distress, heart palpitations, asthma, and other symptoms such as short-term memory loss. And here we see in a satellite image, we see how these chemtrail clouds can cover huge expanses of the atmosphere. Basically, it shows this is a global phenomenon. The whole planet is being sprayed in this way, and artificial cloud cover is being produced, to the point that what was once a blue planet is now almost completely a white planet because of this artificial cloud formation. Now, according to Amy Worthington, Project Cloverleaf is a multifaceted project which includes weather modification, military communications, space weapons development, ozone and global warming research, plus biological weaponry and detection testing. The amount of particulates dumped into the atmosphere through aerosol spraying by aircraft has geoengineered planet Earth's atmosphere into a highly charged, electrically conductive plasma useful for military projects. These military projects include the use of powerful electromagnetic devices, which can be used to manipulate the jet stream and individual storm fronts in order to artificially create weather and thus to artificially manipulate the climate. It includes biological warfare capability, as embedded in the aerosols of substances designed to sicken and disorient populations with biological test agents and psychotronic mind/mood control technologies. This project is also connected to the Pentagon's secret space program. Weapons at their disposal from space-based platforms seem to include mind control weapons, electronic, psychotronic, and information weaponry, high altitude, ultra low frequency weapons, plasma, electromagnetic, sonic, and ultrasonic weapons, and these work through producing sound waves in the atmosphere. And then chemical, biological, and environmental weapons in order to manipulate the climate, and this includes tectonic weapons which can be used to create earthquakes. And finally, chemtrails, which are used as a weapon, a delivery system, and a way to facilitate the functioning of other weapons. The Earth's atmosphere, including the ionosphere, is thus being continuously bombarded with microwaves, which are used to manipulate the charged atmosphere for the purpose of weather modification, for information gathering, and for the purpose of tectonic warfare. In other words, creating earthquakes. Clifford Carnicom, an independent chemical researcher, has confirmed that we are being continuously subjected to extremely low electromagnetic frequencies pulsing at multiples of the 4 Hz frequency, and that these frequencies are known to profoundly affect human biology and mental functioning. He also found a connection between the growth of tumors in children's brains and electromagnetic waves. It seems that the poisoning of our planet with toxic materials and microwave radiation is still not enough. This is because, in addition to these, the Pentagon has waged limited nuclear wars in various parts of the world. Through the use of depleted and non-depleted uranium in the making of weapons and ammunition, missiles, tank penetrators, and bunker-busting bombs used during the war on terror in Iraq and Afghanistan by US and British forces are nuclear weapons. Refuse from this radioactive weaponry does not disperse and remains deadly for the next few billion years. This shows that the war was not really waged on terror, but on civilian populations that are now living with the fact that their soil, water, and food are all contaminated with highly radioactive compounds, as well as with heavy metals, which guarantees their slow and painful death, as well as for their children that may not even have been born at the time of the war. And we see some of these bunker-busting bombs here that contain depleted uranium, sometimes not even undepleted uranium. Now, at the same time, the US and British troops who helped in unleashing this horror on the civilian populations of Iraq and Afghanistan have also inhaled and ingested millions of tiny invisible ceramic uranium particles which emit alpha, beta, and gamma radiation. These will be embedded in their lungs, kidneys, blood, lymph, and bone. As uranium-238 decays into daughter isotopes, it becomes more radioactive, causing cellular and organ damage to escalate with time. Uranium contamination thus would lead to multi-organ system disorders, just like the strange illnesses suffered by thousands of Gulf War veterans. In addition, contaminated bodily fluids would also poison spouses and even unborn offspring. If these puppet masters are capable of knowingly poisoning their own troops in such a way, can we actually expect them to do anything less to the civilian population of their own countries? The father of Operation Cloverleaf seems to also have been the father of the hydrogen bomb, Dr. Edward Teller, who before his death in 2003 was director of the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, where plans for nuclear, biological, and directed energy weapons are crafted. Dr. Edward Teller outlined a plan to scatter millions of tons of electrically conductive metallic particulates in the stratosphere, apparently as a way to reduce global warming. And this was in 1997. But the true reason seems to be able to wage war on civilian populations, people who have nothing with which to defend themselves. These are therefore people that embody the true definition of cowardice. The U.S. Air Force document entitled Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owing the Weather in 2025, lists the many ways in which weather and climate modification can be used as weapons. Among the list is storm creation and modification, fog and cloud creation, precipitation or rain enhancement, precipitation denying, in other words, creating drought, and artificial creation of space weather. And here we see wave patterns in the artificially created clouds above and in the ocean, which indicate that electromagnetic manipulation of both mediums is occurring. Even though the year 2025 is used in the title, suggesting that these weapons will not be in place until then, it is likely that all of these capabilities are now already available and have been for years. The first way that the electromagnetic warfare was waged on the Earth's population was through HAARP, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. These antennas bombard and heat the ionosphere, causing the electromagnetic frequencies to bounce back to Earth, thus affecting all living organisms on its surface. The original inventor of HAARP is Bernard Eastland, who described in the original patent how the electromagnetic waves coming from the antenna can interact with plumes of atmospheric particles and used as a focusing device to modify weather, and is thus capable of triggering floods, droughts, and hurricanes. It appears that these electromagnetic emissions can also create wind, as according to independent researchers who monitored HAARP transmissions of 14 Hz, found that at high output levels, these transmissions were associated to wind speeds above 70 miles per hour. More recently, the HAARP program seems to have been replaced by electromagnetic transmissions from satellites, as it was reported in 2004 that there were plans to replace the program with solar power satellites. These satellites were to have capabilities vastly superior to the HAARP system. The HAARP facility was shut down in 2014, thus suggesting that the operations were transferred to satellite platforms by then. And here's the HAARP facility in Alaska, which shut down in 2014. So in conclusion, chemtrails are a major part of the Cloverleaf operation, but just like a clover leaf, there are many facets to it. All these facets, however, suggest that its aim is to wage war through various means, from weather and climate manipulation to biological warfare and mind control of populations. The war that is being fought also seems to be aimed at the civilian populations of this planet. And those are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.